Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is 10 a.m. If I can get everybody to take their seat, we're going to get started here. Good morning. All right. I'm going to call to order the regular meeting of the Washoe County Board of County Commissioners. Today is July 11th. It is 10 a.m. And at this time, I would ask Chief Moore, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, sir?
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. All right, Madam Clerk, can I get a roll call, please? Here.
Vice Chair Marcia Burke-Bigler.
Here.
Kitty Jung.
Present.
Von Hartung.
Here.
Jeannie Herman.
Here.
John Slaughter.
Present.
County Manager, Assistant District Attorney Paula Pirelli.
Here.
I'm Nancy Parent, County Clerk. You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now we are on to public comment. Mr. Manager.
Mr. Chair, item 3 is public comment. Comment heard on this item is limited to 3 minutes per person. May pertain to items both on and off the Commission agenda. The Commission will also hear public comment during individual action items, with comment limited to 3 minutes per person, and comments are to be made to the Commission as a whole.
Great. This time I have a few members signed in for public comment. I'm going to call your name, and then I will call a person directly following you. So if you could queue up here at the bottom. First I have Miss Liz Griffin, followed by Miss Elise Weatherly.
I've been accused of not speaking up, so can you hear me?
Yep.
Good.
Thank you.
All
Thank you,
right.
Miss Griffin.
Do all of you have this? I asked for it to be up
It will be distributed right now. I always wait until the person
Okay,
comes
I'm
up.
sorry. Okay. Since I'm limited in time and you're limited in time, I thought what I would do is have this passed out. I represent the Wild Creek, Save Wild Creek organization, and we have lots of concerns which cannot be addressed in 3 minutes, and we know that. However, I would encourage you, please, when you have time, to open this up and look at our concerns. It'll give you a chance to really consider them. I'd like to also remind everybody that a building does not educate children, it is teachers, okay? And I think that this proposed project underserves other schools that are in need of neighborhood schools where the growth actually is. We do not have huge growth in the Wild Creek area. I would like to see that those of us who voted for WC1 see some frugality and some good decisions made with that money. We do not believe that this mega campus is a good decision. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Miss Griffin. Next, I have Miss Elise Weatherly, followed by Miss Darla Lee.
Hi, Elise Weatherly, Sun Valley, Nevada. Just wanted to give you guys a status update. I know you're very interested in hearing what I've been through. That was facetious humor. Anyway, what I noticed is when we open up the Pledges of Allegiance, we say, under God. When we're in a court of law, we say we want to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And so in my efforts here for the last couple of years, year and a half, I wanted to get to the bottom of things because I want to know the whole truth on everything. And I've run into some very interesting things. Number one, if you want to know the truth and if you want to tell the truth, guess what you become? Despised. If you're a compromiser, if you have half-truth, if you're ready to waver, then it's okay. So we can apply the 100% truth to physics. The laws of physics is okay. But this under God thing, oh no, we've got to keep that separate from the government. So in Jan Evans, if you want to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, you are thrown out. Oh, by the way, Donkey Rhino, if you are hearing this, and I hope you are, I'm going to be naming names later. I'm doing a lot of documentary things. I'm doing research and investigation information and then presenting the facts to let people take a look at it. It's not feelings, it's not opinion, it's facts. I'll present you guys what has happened, and then you can tell whether I'm telling the truth or not, right? Because it matters. All right, so the Senior Citizen Center, I went over there to check out the food. What I've noticed is that the senior citizens, the Catholics that are there, they can serve food, but they can't supposedly tell the truth. Whether they have it or not, that's another a matter. But they're not allowed to tell people the truth, so we've got a whole bunch of dead stuff going on over there. The Washoe County Sheriff, when I was pulled over the other day, I told him the truth, and he just got all over my case for that. And so I put it in a complaint against this particular officer because he said, because I do good things in the community, does that mean I'm above the law? And so in my complaint, I said, well, can I be Hillary Clinton then? Because obviously these people at the top, they don't have to go by the same rules that I do. I have to pay for a ticket that really wasn't justified. So I go to the Sparks court system, and guess what they want me to do? They want me to plea, to negotiate a plea. So they want me to sign a lie. And so I'm out there talking to the guy, and I said, you want me to sign my name to a lie? Where does it say on this plea bargaining thing that it's wrong, that it's a lie? And they got so mad at me. And there was an officer there, a Washoe County Sheriff, I'm sorry, police from the Sparks, that was actually nice to me, and he said, the judge won't listen to you, just go ahead and sign it. So all I'm saying is, if I come and tell you guys the truth, I can say, hey, we're going to jump out of a plane, here's a parachute. It's a half a parachute. It's got holes in it, but that's okay. We can defy the laws of physics. It doesn't matter if I'm giving you a whole parachute or a half a parachute. So if I'm here telling you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and it goes against what you want to hear and want to believe, well, that's not my responsibility. My responsibility is to tell you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and then you guys can take with it what you want to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Weatherly. Next, I have Ms. Darla Lee, followed by Mr. George Lee. Good morning, Ms. Lee.
Good morning. I wanted to speak concerning the Wild Creek Golf Course also. My husband and I moved to Sparks almost 2 years ago to live with our daughter and son-in-law from our former home of 35 years in rural Ohio. And as you might imagine, going from a 2-acre farm to a compacted housing development was challenging for us. But the transition was made a lot easier by the fact that we are near the Wild Creek Golf Course. It's directly to the east of us. And this green space with the wildlife it draws to the area has been a great blessing to us, as well as to all of the residents in the area. However, in May, we were very surprised to hear that the Washoe County School District was proposing to destroy part of this golf course in order to build a new high school. And just on the face of it, this proposal seemed very odd. We have experienced just in the last 6 months the absolute traffic snarl caused by the Pyramid McCarran expansion. And frankly, it's ridiculous to think that busing in 2,500 students via McCarran, Sullivan, Wedekind would not cause an even greater traffic problems and accidents. And to my knowledge, the traffic impact studies have not even been started, but I can already tell you what the result would be. The other obvious problem with the Wild Creek location would be the fact that the golf course is on a floodplain, and just this past winter, we could see that the majority of the course was underwater. This has also happened in the high water years of '97 and '06, and who can say if this cycle will not continue? I mean, a golf course can eventually absorb this water, but with buildings like a high school, this is a disaster waiting to happen. I'm not a golfer, but by all accounts, the Wild Creek Golf Course is enjoyable and one of the few affordable golf courses still in the area. It's well-planned, it's PGA rated, it has other facilities, not just for golfers. It has a facility upstairs for larger events. It has an outside barbecue area. And since its opening in the mid-'70s, it's operated, or it has operated profitably until it was saddled by the gray water debts of recent years. But even now, it has 200 members from the community. This would cost probably upwards of $20 million to provide another course like the one we already have. So it doesn't make any sense to destroy it that is a benefit to so many. And I urge you, please, I am absolutely convinced that another suitable place could be found if you will just make an effort. Thank
you,
you.
Ms. Lee. Next, I have Mr. George Lee, followed by Ms. Denise Ross.
Good morning. My name's George Lee. I live at 3506 Brassy Drive in Sparks. I'm opposed to the building of the new high school at the lower end of the Wild Creek Golf Course for many reasons. There's going to be a huge amount of traffic along Sullivan, Wedekind, and McCarran. We've watched 6 months of snarl up at the corner of Pyramid and McCarran while it's trying to be modified to take more traffic, which was done by RTA. I said that's the people who do the streets, right, who do the projects. And they're going to have to enlarge the streets in front of the golf course to do that all the way to the freeway, because all the way to 395 in order to alleviate some of that. But they're also going to have to widen Sullivan for all of the buses that are going to go up and down there in the morning and in the afternoon. They're going to have to move the power lines. Who's going to pay for that? Is NV Power going to agree to pay for that, to move the high-tension power lines away from the road? Or are they going to put them underground? There are a lot of questions. We'd like to find out information about, we have heard that there were 3 other sites supposed by the people in Sparks, the city of Sparks, pointed out 3 sites that could have been alternate sites, and they were summarily just dismissed. And I'd like to know what those sites are and where I can find the information about those sites, because there are places that are more centrally located to where the new building is, the expansions that's going on in Spanish Springs. I'm very concerned about the cost of infrastructure, the increased size of Wedekind, bringing buses up from down below where they normally would have taken people over to Hug High. Now they're going to take them to this site. Wedekind is going to be a lot more difficult to expand. The other thing is, how are they possibly going to spend $130 million to build a school that would normally cost anywhere else $14 million? The idea that we're spending this money to do something that's wonderful. They're going to have a 9-hole golf course framing the background of this high school, but you know what? All those holes are like 45-degree angle fairways. They're like, why bother? How's anybody going to learn to play golf there?
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Thank
Next, I
you
have
for your
Ms.
time.
Denise Ross.
I need that overhead projector, please.
Yeah, we'll get you the overhead. Good morning, Ms. Ross.
Okay, before I begin, I need to mention a couple of other things. I'm here for Tammy Holt still. She's in another meeting. Also, I'd like you to look into the geomorphic study that we brought to your attention in previous meetings. All buildings should be halted until that study has been completed. We can't stop the progress or the building. We don't want to, but you have a duty to build a solid infrastructure, waste treatment, enlarging the lake, schools, and environmental concerns first. I hear that there are flood mitigation plans required for new building in our area. Perhaps enforcement of these regulations with continuous repeat inspections would help with the added flood issues. Very quickly, I'd like to point out some additional Washoe County responsible issues that will contribute more property losses if the ditches and culverts throughout Lemon Valley are not made a priority. This is inexcusable. I understand that the city of Reno paid for the $64,000 lease of the whale art piece with hotel tax revenue. I fail to understand why Washoe County would be paying $9,000 to light it up when out in Lemon Valley, mom and pop on Social Security are counting pennies to purchase necessary medicine while having to pay the extra gas money to drive further into town. Some families are still not able to live in their own homes. It stinks, the lake water. It's filthy. I'm so tired of being patted on the head and told that Swan Lake is not polluted due to flooding. I ask you, when was the last time Washoe County took water samples? These pictures were taken yesterday. That one? This one? Were taken yesterday. A week or so prior, there were actually children swimming in it. There are no warning signs. There are leach lines under the water, not 30 feet from where the children were swimming. It meets recreational standards, I'm told. The effluent wastewater that continues to get dumped into the lake, I am told, is safe enough to drink. Again, I question if any regulations in place are being enforced. Here, would any one of you like to take this home for your children or grandchildren to play with? This is the lake effluent water. Any of you care to have a drink? There's not just a stained glass whale in this room. There's an elephant, and you need to start doing something about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ross. Next, I have Mr. Stuart Mackey, followed by Mr. Sam Dene.
Thank you very much. My name is Stuart Mackay. You folks received this on your bonds where I have claimed them. So we're going to work on that. But before we're going to do that, the big thing is I got a hold of CDC, and they're the ones that stopped you guys playing with the water out there because of the unknown bacteria that you came up with. And one of my biggest problems is that the children are not informed that they cannot go near that water because it's not water, it's effluent. Anywhere you see it, okay, on any of the public situations from the water division or from the NDEP, it's considered effluent. It's not considered water. Okay, so when you guys call it water, there's a problem. And Reno has been rebuilding its downtown for every 5 years for the last 50 years, I think. Yet they can't afford to put the piping in that they supposedly get a 35-year kick on. And every year they get that 35 years goes to 36, 37, whatever. Why aren't you guys forcing them to put that in there? They let everything on the freeway die a bunch of years ago because there was no water. They let Conforti's golf course go to heck because there was no water. And that's absolutely wrong. And Katie?
Sir, sir, you need to address the board as a whole, please.
Well,
Address the board as a whole, please. Thank
her
you.
bond is missing part of it, okay? I just wanted her to know so she could be
Thank you.
effective, but there's about 4 months that you don't have a bond. So now I informed the CDC, and they asked me for some information from you folks, and I'm going to get it from the district attorney, because we've run into a problem where the bond used to be $1 million for the district attorney and the sheriff, and now they've dropped them all to
Thank you, Mr. McKay.
$7,500,000.
Thank you, sir.
So there's obviously a
Sir,
problem,
if you could wrap
guys.
up your, thank you,
Okay,
thank you, appreciate it.
but you need to look into that
We will,
because
thank you.
that is a criminal
Sir,
matter.
thank you, appreciate it, thank you. Next, I have Mr. Sam Dene.
Sam DNA Dene, the heart and soul, body and mind of Reno government. That's me, Sam. I'm responsible for 92% of the good things about Reno. I say it all the time. I challenge anybody to come up and say it's only 91%. Everybody knows it's true, except the media mouses are too scared to report it. I hold right here, ladies and gentlemen, the Sam Dene commemorative Washoe County agenda. A couple of weeks ago, several weeks ago, I came to this podium and caught them I wasn't at the podium. They blundered with their agenda by writing it wrong and against the law, totally wrong. I filed an open meeting law complaint, and within days, they corrected their blunder. Not only did he correct it, they totally redesigned the Sam Dene commemorative Washoe County agenda. Everything on there says for possible action. The county commissioner, the commission was absolutely wrong to threaten to remove me from a meeting because I was the one who was right. I have not gotten an apology from that dude over there or that lady over there or anybody. You threatened to have me removed by that deputy over there, not that particular guy. We got the Washoe County never-ending school tax bond that I sort of spoke in favor of, but I guaranteed that I demanded that they should have to be responsible for where the money was going. It was not supposed to go to the fat cats. Instead of rebuilding the schools and doing it properly, they're trying to build Taj Mahals across the area so that the developers and the infrastructure people can make millions and millions and millions of dollars off of the hardship of these people living right next to. They will have 5 years of jackhammering, then they'll have the rest of their lives with school buses coming up and down, gang fights, who knows what's going to go on over there. And it should not be done. This is a bait and switch scam, and it's a never-ending tax. It shows you what you can do if you give the government a never-ending tax. If they don't do this, they'll go somewhere else with another bait and switch. I'm here adamant about it. Excuse my adamacy, but I'm sure. Last night I was watching the Home Run Derby. Very exciting. But you know what Reno needs? Reno needs a castigate the media derby. Yeah. But guess what? Only one person would show up. I would win by default. Even Donald Trump cannot cast. He's a pipsqueak. What Donald Trump is, the president is a pipsqueak. And yeah, Donald up there, you're a pipsqueak compared to nice smiley face. You're a pipsqueak compared to castigating the corrupt, mendacious, perverted, deceptive, rotten, evil, wicked, cowardly media mouses. Did I make my point? Thank you. Nice smiley face. Thank you over there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dene. Next, we have Mr. William Puchert. Followed by Mr. Wesley Griffin. Sir, would you like the overhead?
Yes, please, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and fellow commissioners. I stand here again almost 5 months since an illegal billboard has been constructed behind my home in an adjacent parcel of Mountain View Cemetery, which is in an unincorporated island and thus in Washoe County's jurisdiction. This blight stares us in the face through our living room windows and our backyard patios and obstructs our scenic views. And while the sign perpetrators have once again ignored a penalty citation deadline that passed a week ago, and I appreciate your code enforcement department continually to promptly issuing citations and understand there is a process here. I think it's a foregone conclusion that the owners of the illegal sign, Jeffrey and Alan Harrison of Strict Scrutiny Media, along with those enabling parties, Reno Oddfellows Lodge, number 14, and Mountain View Cemetery, will just continue ignoring these citations, as their attorney has personally told me that the sign will remain up until he is instructed by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals or the Supreme Court to take it down. I believe there's a new urgency for this sign's removal. I have a video here. I have a video here that shows the post swaying in the wind with only a light breeze a week ago Sunday. That area is prone to high winds. And if you notice by this photo,
Mr. Pritchard.
Oh,
can you
excuse me.
there you go.
And if you notice by this photo that these flimsy pins are the only things holding it up. One of my fellow Northwest Reno residents wrote to my District 1 representative on this matter and received the following reply back. We are working on this issue, and I hope to have a resolution to remove the framework for the billboard along the freeway at the cemetery area. I understand from staff that the framework is so poorly constructed that it could simply be pushed over. So, of course, I seriously doubt that an actual sign could be put up. If the latter part of that statement is indeed the case, then why has the sign not been taken down yet? This is why I ask again that, as I have in previous occasions, to direct the DA to file an amicus brief with the City of Reno in their federal case with strict scrutiny to expedite the process. I did some research on the Harrisons and their business background, and with a simple Google search, the result will yield several instances of litigation challenging billboard ordinances in California and Oregon municipalities. In some of the stories I read...
Thank you.
Oh, okay. In closing,
Thank you.
I just ask that you get the sign down.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Mr.
Next, I have-
Pritchard, I will need to get, I'm over here to your left. I'll need to get with you to arrange to get copies of those photos. Sure. Thank you.
Mr. Wesley Griffin, followed by Miss Darlene Hess. Good morning, Mr.
Good morning. I'm Wesley Griffin. I'm here to speak in favor of saving Well Creek. And in talking to you today, I'd like to bring an interesting word to your attention.
Would you like the overhead, sir?
Yes.
The microphone. The microphone, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So at any rate, the word I'd like to bring to your attention is transmogrify. Anybody ever heard that word? It was circulating on the internet here a couple of years ago. But transmogrify means to transform, especially in a surprising or magical manner. And the illustration they give here is the cucumbers were ultimately transmogrified into pickles. Well, what I want to talk to you today is not about transmogrifying cucumbers into pickles, but transmogrifying monkeys into albatrosses. The RSCVA would lead us to believe that Wild Creek Golf Course is a monkey on their back. We know different, but they would try to lead us to believe that. And if you buy into that, you are ultimately going to transmogrify a monkey into an albatross. And guess whose neck it's going to be hung around, because it'll follow you. We would encourage you to come to our website. We have a website where we're informing people of what's going on.
Can't hear you.
Come to our website. We have a website that's informing people of what's happening here. We have a beautiful $30 million asset that some people want to transmogrify and to a school. And in the process, they're destroying a beautiful asset. There are multiple problems with it. We've listed them on our website. We've listed them in the little brochure that you will be handed. I encourage you to really give some hard thought to that. An albatross is a terrible thing to have to wear around your neck. I've worn one or two myself. Probably you have too. And I'm not looking forward to wearing any more in the near future. So please carefully consider this. We've got too many problems. We don't have to have either a great school for our kids or a golf course. We can have both. We should have both. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Next, I have Ms. Darlene Hess, followed by Ms. Tammy Holt-Still.
Well, good morning. Good morning, all of you. And Mr. Lucy, my husband corrected you. It's Hesse.
Oh, Hesse,
And
I'm
he
sorry.
said you wouldn't want to be called Luce, would you?
No.
Okay. So anyway, I'm here to defend Wild Creek Golf Course. I think it's a beautiful area. And $30 million, people should know about this, that you're going to take down $30 million and destroy this beautiful area where it has lots of animals. There's a lot of problems to be taken care of. It will cost the people of this Washoe County so very much money. I don't think anyone has a realization of what you people are doing. I don't even know if you realize the expense of this. We have such a horrible traffic problem. We have so many problems there. I took pictures of the flooding. It was almost going across Wild Creek, the Whittican Road. I mean, it's really a lovely area. It's not like Lake Ridge, but it's a wonderful area for all Sparks and Reno, whoever wants to come to enjoy. And I think this is one of the biggest mistakes. And when I hear about Wild Creek, that they're $250,000 in the hole, what about the bowling stadium, $1 million in a deficit, and then the convention authority? Why can't these be run by individual people? Business people. I see the Grand Sierra. My gosh, their marketing is fantastic. The parking lot is just filled. It's filled all the time. Now, I don't know why Wild Creek, $250,000 in the hole. That's nothing compared to the $1 million debts for all the people. People should know in Washoe County, this is a very, very a difficult time for all of us. It's a bad time. It's not, it doesn't even make any sense to me. It's like you're throwing $30 million away and you're going to start another debt for all the people of Washoe County? Gee, that's just not a fair thing to do. I think that there's many different ways for the schools. I'm for schools. I'm for education. I went to Sparks High, and I'm not proud to think that you're going to put Hug High School in that land. It should be Sparks, if anything. That is in city of Sparks. And fine, that if you want to build a school in a different area, great, build a school. It doesn't cost a fortune. We need to have it in a populated area where there's children. We don't have kids, so 2,500 kids are going to be bused to this school every day. This is insanity. And the traffic problems, we can't hardly get out of our neighborhood right now. And I think another thing, when I was in high school, we had diversified occupation. And you could get a job, and it was, you got a credit for it from school. You could work in many different places. You could work at a dentist's office. They train you. Many different things you could do. And I think that you should look at something like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hesse. Next, I have Ms. Tammy Holt-Still.
Good morning, Tammy Holt, still for the record. Thought you were going to get rid of me. Didn't work. This morning, I was at the TRC trying to support our community for $400,000, which in speaking to a few of the commissioners, we were looking for a letter that was mentioned, and we did not receive it. Michelle Matoyan did not receive that letter. But we did do a presentation to them, and we are looking forward to doing another presentation at the end of August, I think is when they're doing the next one. Again, FEMA is not supporting these residents. Their insurances are not supporting these residents. So again, you know that TRC is supposed to be for low-income housing and new projects, but they also fund other projects also. And this is a project that is worth the while. Our homes, people are going to be homeless if they're not taken care of. It needs to be taken care of. I also want to let you know that I've done some more research, and back in 1982, from October 1st of 1982 to September 30th, or excuse me, September 1st of 1983, there was 12.42 inches of rainfall or precipitation. This year, from October 1st to current, we had 13.78 inches of rain. There isn't much difference. It's 1.25 inches, somewhere around in there. And yet we had flooding this year where we didn't have flooding back in 1982. So I think it's time to go back and really look at the structure of what's happened over the last 20 years and understand that, stated by NDEP, the water, affluent waters that came from the Stead sewer plant is only supposed to be 2 million gallons, but yet a day, but yet they were doing almost 3 million gallons a day during this last winter. So the statistics are there. I'm comparing apples to apples. We need to stop and look at the whole thing and start changing how things are done, and we look forward to seeing you guys working with us because we're doing our research also. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, seeing no further public comment at this time, I'll bring it back to the board. And we are on to item 4. Mr. Manager.
Item 4 is Commissioners and County Managers' announcements, reports, and updates, requests for information, or topics for future agendas. Mr. Chair, if I could, I would, as my portion of reports and updates, if I could invite our Fire Chief Moore to come up and give an update on our current fire situation.
Great.
And as a reminder, this is a report, so this will be a report from the chief. We're not going to have an opportunity at the time to ask questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Charles Moore, Fire Chief, Truckee Meadows. With me is Jay Swiak, Battalion Chief for Truckee Meadows. Since June 1st, we've been in a very active wildfire season, probably the most severe in recent memory. With just a few exceptions, we've had a wildfire, brush fire almost every single day. And since July 3rd, we've had 4 of the largest wildfires that we've had in recent memory, with the Truckee Fire, the Winnemucca Ranch Fire, the Earstone Fire, and most recently the Aspen Fire, and then just recently we have the Farad Fire. So we'd like to give you a quick update on the Farad Fire because it certainly is still a risky fire for much of western Nevada along Verdi, Boomtown, Belli Ranch, and Gold Ranch. I do want to just mention that we urge the public to stay vigilant and stay prepared until we can get through this particular fire and stay vigilant throughout the rest of the wildfire season. So I'll turn it over to Jay Swiak so you get an update of what's going on today.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jay Swiak, Battalion Chief, Truckee Meadows Fire. The fire started yesterday around 1 o'clock, roadside along I-80. It quickly spread uphill with approximately 50 acres within the first 10 minutes. And then it kind of died out. But around 3 o'clock, the downhill and down canyon winds picked up, and it blew up significantly. The fire currently right now has multiple agencies on it, including CAL FIRE, U.S. Forest Service, and the BLM. We did put in a response on the initial dispatch, and our resources were on scene until about 10 o'clock last night until we were released. Currently, right now, the fire is being managed by a Type 3 incident management team from the Sierra Front, and they were planning on transitioning out to a Type 2 incident management team tomorrow. Right now, it's about 700 acres, the last report. They do have a significant threat still to I-80. The westbound traffic, as of this morning, was shut down so they can continue their operations, and they do have a large contingency of aircraft on the fire, including 4 super scoopers, which are picking water up out of the Stampede Reservoir and dropping it on the fire line up at the top of the hill. At risk to us right now, we do have some homes right near what is called Exit 1, or the Last Chance Exit, just south or west of Gold Ranch. And aside from that, there's also the Gold Ranch area, which is in the city of Reno. That's also potentially a threat. There are also a large contingency that they're worried about if the fire happens to cross I-80. So understand that they are putting a lot of resources onto the fire right now and attempting to keep it within the lines that they can. But we expect around 1 to 3 o'clock to have the same type of weather conditions today as we've had yesterday. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions if you have them for me. Okay.
That's good right now. Thank you. Thank you for the report. All right. Thank you, Chief. Mr. Manager, anything further from you at this time? All right. Do I have anything from any of my commissioners? I have Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to take the opportunity as Chief is stepping outside of the door to thank our firefighters for all they've been doing. It has been truly amazing how much fire has been burning throughout our entire North Valleys. And I had the opportunity to speak with Commissioner Herman this morning, and fortunately she and her horses are safe, and but there is a lot of danger out there, and I so appreciate that these guys were able to rally around and get out there and make sure that no citizens were injured. So far, no animals have been injured, and they are doing a superb job. So I think we owe them a round of thanks for everything they're doing for us on the east side of the city and the valley, but now also on the west side, watching very carefully what's going on over there and making sure that they're protecting the citizens in Verdi. So that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Commissioner Jung.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of requests. One is to look at what we are charging at the Senior Citizen Center for groups that have used it for years and years and years, like ballroom dancing, and the sustainability for them to continue paying the type of charges that we have. So I'd like a presentation as well as a suggestions on how we can make this a much more sustainable issue. And then I also would like to have a presentation in September from the Eddy House, which is a home on 6th Street that is open from Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 a.m. for 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. for homeless youth, age 16 to 24. And I'd like to know how we could get further involved. There's a philosophy and some good data to support that if you can break the cycle of homelessness in that age group, you'd actually would have a generation without homelessness. Or let's be honest, there's always going to be homelessness, but not the type of homelessness that we're seeing now. So I would love for them to come in and do a 10-minute presentation. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner John. Commissioner Harton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Perhaps it would be wise if we put through the fire season, while I recognize that we're not convened as the fire board, but perhaps it would be wise to have a standing item on our agenda where we can ask questions, because many people don't realize that we only talk about it once a month, and we may have the need to talk about fire more than once a month, regardless of whether we're convened as the fire board, just so that we can sort of understand. And I think it would be very useful for us, because I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. One of the things that I did not see on our active requests was some discussion about where we are in terms of additional signage, and then the possibility of a temporary, temporary moratorium on target shooting, especially in some of these close-lying areas, and especially with steel-jacketed shells and et cetera. And so that's, it'd be nice to just have the conversation. And again, while I know that that's part of the fire board, I'm not sure. I think we still have to take action as the regular board of county commissioners. The other thing I didn't see on our requests was Mr. Smith. I had asked for some, and this was several meetings ago now, all of the effluent standards that we have in Washoe County, what our current discharge is, where we discharge to, the permitting process for all of our plants, Stem Wharf, the Lemon Valley plant, and of course Cold Springs. So it would be nice to know what those effluent standards are currently, what we are treating to, and what our responsibility is in terms of managing a federal body of water. So it's something that I think that we need to talk about. And then I did not see on our requests, and maybe we can catch up offline, Mr. Smith, where we are on Nicole and some of the solutions that we've talked about and on Nicole Drive, and what we're going to do there. And that's all I have for now, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hartung. Commissioner Herman.
All right. We're in the middle of fire season for sure. I see bird eye pretty smoky. And I wish that I'd been able to bring this up about 2 months ago so it'd be in place already. I have checked into a place called Rain for Rent, and I find that we can rent 22,000-gallon water containers. They're the size of a semi-van, cargo container. And they would provide water to the firefighting in Bird Eye if we can get that going. So I would be willing to put $5,000 down towards the rental of those for the rest of this fire season, so that I at least don't have a guilty conscience that I didn't do something about it, because I'm kind of concerned right now. Like I say, I wish I'd found out about this a long time ago. But there'll be a presentation at the fire meeting on next Tuesday on this by citizens of Bird Eye. So that, and regarding the Peavine shooting deal, we didn't get any signs up yet showing where the shooting was going to be, but there is existing signage there now all of a sudden saying no shooting at all. So you can rest easy there. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Herman. All right, I have a few things that I want to do. First and foremost, I would like to make a formal announcement here in front of everybody that Kate Thomas, our new Assistant County Manager, started with us yesterday. Today is her second day. Thank you very much for joining us. We're excited to have you on board. You're a wonderful added addition to our new team, to our team. Look forward to many years ahead of you working with us here at the county, and many of your wonderful years from the city. So welcome aboard, and congratulations on that. And congratulations, Manager Slaughter, for making that such decision. Yeah. As many of many of the commissioners have said up here today, it is the midst of fire season. I said this months ago when we had tons of rain and it was very wet. We knew eventually that all that wonderful wet green stuff would eventually dry out, and we would be in the midst of a very, very difficult fire season. And from the report we've seen from Chief and what we've all bore witness to over the last month and a half, it's going to be a bad season. And I commend Commissioner Herman and her attempts to find some solutions for her district. But the one thing I want to continue to reiterate as a commissioner who bore witness to a major fire in my district not more than 6 months ago, or a little more than 6 months ago. These are dynamic fires. Fires are dynamic. They move. They change. They are, what we want to continue to urge our citizens is to be prepared. If you feel that you're in a fire-prone area, you feel that you're close to wildland that could burn, that this is something that you need to be prepared for. And it's unpredictable. Every part of our community is susceptible to these types of fires. So please be prepared. Know a quick escape route. Know how to get out of your home quickly. Have go bags ready for you. This is part of the procedure. So just be aware. Be fire aware. There's lots of information on our website. There's lots of information on UNR's website to fire alert. These are things that change, and they're very difficult for even the best firefighters to fight once they get started. So With that being said, what I would ask for is now a update from staff on kind of the progress where we are with Wild Creek. We did sign, this board signed the letter of intent back in May to participate in the understanding of going forward and what that would look like and where things are going to be. And just if we could get an update from the school district or staff about what specifics are or where we are with that process, that would be phenomenal. Also, I'd like to get an update from staff at some point on the illegal sign and what the challenges are there. If I could get that sign update, I know that's in Commissioner Burke-Bigler's district, but I'd like to just have an understanding what's going on there. But other than that, that is all I have. Commissioner Herman, I have you sign back in. Commissioner Herman.
Thank you. I have heard by the grapevine that sometimes the hangar door for Raven won't open, and they have emergencies all the time. So I'd like to get an estimate on what it would cost to fix that door and get it working properly, because if I had an emergency, I'd want them there. So if we could get an estimate for what it would cost to have that door maintained and fixed, I'd sure like to know, because I would be happy to donate towards that.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Herman. Seeing nothing further at this time, I will close that and we will move on to consent. Mr. Manager.
Mr. Chair, your consent agenda is item 5, represented by items 5A through 5H3 on today's agenda.
All right. Is there any, at this time, is there any items on the consent agenda that would like to be removed or further discussion?
Move approval.
I have a motion. And motion by Commissioner Jung, second by Commissioner Hartung. I will call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. I'm jumping ahead here a little bit. All right, we are on to Madam Vice Chair. We have items for a block vote today?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we do have items for block vote today. Let me get to them. So I would make a motion to put in a block vote 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11.
I have a motion, and I have a motion by Commissioner Berkeley for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, a second by Commissioner Jung. Mr. Manager, would you read those for us, please?
Be happy to. Item 6 is for possible action to sponsor an amendment to the Truckee Meadows Regional Plan based on a request and presentation from the Washoe County School District to expand Washoe County's Truckee Meadows service area by plus 80 acres to accommodate the construction of a new middle school on land immediately north of the developed areas in Sun Valley. Per Team RP Module 1, the TMSA is the area in Washoe County that is identified in the Truckee Meadows Regional Plan maps and within which municipal services, including water and sewer, are available for generally more intense development. Under the TMRP, this amendment would reduce the approximate remaining acreage within the TMSA available for development in unincorporated Washoe County from 244 acres to 164 acres. If sponsored, direct staff to forward the amendment request to the Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Agency. Item 7 is recommendation to award bid number 3022-17 for operating lease new fleet heavy equipment to the lowest responsible bidder, Cashman Equipment Company, in the amount of $756,336.20 for a 5-year operating lease of 2 Cat 950M 4 cubic yard wheel loaders, 1 Cat 966M 5.25 yard wheel loader, 3 Cat 430 F2 IT backhoe loaders, and 3 Cat 140 M3 motor graders. Item 8 is recommendation to approve the 2018 interlocal agreement to use account for low-income housing welfare set-aside funds by Washoe County between Washoe County and the Nevada Housing Division of the State of Nevada Department of Business and Industry in the amount of $162,015 with no county match required to provide emergency housing assistance effective July 1, 2017 through June 30, 2020, and direct the Comptroller's Office to make necessary budget amendments. Item 9 is a recommendation to award a bid and approve the agreement to the lowest responsible bidder for the 911 PAR Housing Unit 6 and 8A Handler Replacement Project. Staff recommends Applied Mechanical Incorporated in the amount of $1,227,000 and approve a separate owner project contingency fund in the amount of $50,000. Item 10 is recommendation to award a bid and approve the agreement to the lowest responsible bidder for the South Truckee Meadows Water Reclamation Facility Chemical Storage Building Rehabilitation Project. Staff recommends Resource Development Company in the amount of $1,588,986. And item 11 is for possible action to adopt a resolution to sponsor an amendment to the 2012 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan pursuant to NRS 278.02727 to amend the electrical utility corridors south map to include a new substation and a new utility corridor on assessor's parcel number 084-110-29 to support the expanding operations for Apple Incorporated. The subject property is located directly north of the Tracy Power Plant on the north side of Interstate 80.
Great. I'm going to take public comment at this time. I currently have Mr. Garth Elliott signed in for item 6. Good morning, Mr. Elliott.
Hi. Chairman, Commissioners, real quick, I'll be very brief. I'm urging your support of 6. We need to get this 80 acres of BLM property annexed into the county. Long time in coming. We've been waiting for a school in Sun Valley for 30-plus years. So anything you can do to facilitate it, and this would be a major step to facilitate it, would be appreciated by the community. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Elliott. All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Berkbigler, second by Commissioner Jung. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? I let the record show that Commissioner Jung was not in attendance to place her vote.
I don't have a vote. Oh, there. Thank you.
Motion carries 4-0 with Commissioner Jung being absent for the vote. All right, Mr. Manager. We are on to item 12.
Item 12 is for possible action it's an introduction and first reading of an ordinance amending the Washoe County Code at Chapter 110, Article 505, which references signs.
Great. All right. Do we have staff?
First reading?
First reading, I'm sorry. Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This will be Bill number 1783, an ordinance amending Chapter 110 of the Washoe County Code, Development Code within Article 505, Section 110.505.30, electronic message display signs, to allow certain electronic message display, EMD signs, to be located closer than the existing minimum 200-foot distance requirement. WCC 110.505.30D, between any residentially zoned property and an EMD. The exception would allow an otherwise permitted EMD to be located within 100 feet of residentially zoned property if the sign is 1, operated by a government entity, 2, is located on property owned or controlled by a governmental entity, and 3, only conveys public health, safety, and welfare information, including traffic control and directional information.
Move approval.
Just move for introduction.
Or introduction.
Move to
introduction of
Commissioner
bill.
Berkbigler has moved for introduction. Set the second reading.
And the second reading will be July 25th, 2017.
Okay, so we have a introduction and a July 25th second reading. All right, Mr. Manager, we are on to item 13.
Mr. Item 13 is also an introduction and first reading. This is for action amending Washoe County Code, Chapter 25, our business license ordinance to create temporary marijuana establishment business licenses.
All right. Madam Clerk, if I can get a first reading, please.
Certainly. This will be Bill number 1784, an ordinance amending the Washoe County Code at Chapter 25, Business License Ordinance to create temporary marijuana establishment business licenses and set terms for such temporary licenses, to include an automatic expiration date for those licenses, to establish restriction on businesses which can apply for such temporary temporary licenses to include currently certified and licensed medical marijuana establishments, to set forth application requirements for such temporary licenses, to establish the denial process for license applications, to provide for waste removal and registration card requirements for marijuana establishments, to set forth other terms and conditions for the temporary license, to provide approval and issuance standards for the temporary licenses, to provide for definitions related to the temporary marijuana establishments, and to make any other changes necessary connected therewith or pertaining thereto.
All right. So we have Mr. Solero here to give us a quick presentation. So Mr. Solero, I will give you the floor, please.
Thank you very much. For the record, Dave Solero, Director of Community Services Department. Just a quick primer on what it is we're trying to do. Going to go through a quick little timeline, just a little bit of a brief background on medical marijuana establishments, and then jump into some of the code direction we'd gotten from you to get this Quick Start program up and running. So the timeline, we came before the board on June 13th and got some direction from you on how to proceed with specifically the Quick Start program. So this is the period of time through April 1st, 2018. So what we're proposing is this first reading today, July 11th, a second reading and adoption on July 25th, which would then allow operation of recreational marijuana on August 4th. These licenses would then expire on April 1st, 2018. In the meantime, we would go through the process of actually amending our entire code for the, at your direction. We've got some policy discussions that need to occur, dealing with fees, appropriateness of zoning, some of those other sorts of things for a spring of 2018 rollout of recreational marijuana within Washoe County. But this is specifically today to get the Quick Start piece going. This is established by the state. So just really quickly, we currently have established medical marijuana regulations within our development code and our business licensing. Part of that is they must, the operators must have a state certificate. They must have gone through a background check to get that certificate. They've gone through a review within Washoe County through zoning for health, safety, environmental concerns. They've gotten a license from Washoe County to operate a medical marijuana establishment that has taken all of those things into consideration. Those are some of the things we've heard from a lot of the constituents, is safety. All of those types of things have already been looked at for these specific establishments, and then the state has issued them a certificate of registration. So we're currently talking about 3 dispensaries that have the license, they're up and operating. They would be eligible if they can bring in a certificate to us to begin this Quick Start program, and 1 cultivation facility. We've also crafted the language so that if any of the other 3 dispensaries or any of the other cultivation facilities get their license, get their certificate from the state, they can bring it in and get a temporary license to operate between whenever they get that, if the state allows this to occur, and April 1st. So the board directed staff on June 13th to create this program. We've gone through and we've essentially modeled our business license requirements after the state with a couple of small little nuances. One of the things the state allows is the medical marijuana establishment to operate at some other location other than what is currently permitted. But based on our safety standards and the process we've already gone through, we're not recommending that be allowed. That they've got to operate out of the location that they're operating as the medical marijuana. So we've enabled or crafted this Quick Start program within unincorporated Washoe County. Some of the things that we heard back from you is we wanted to make sure that it's that met the Department of Taxation and legislative requirements. We wanted to be timely. We wanted to be able to get this Quick Start program up and operational and running. We wanted to be kind of at par with the other entities in Washoe County. And then, we wanted to make sure that we took into consideration all of the state requirements associated with this Quick Start program. So that's what we've crafted. That's what we've done for this portion. Our recommendation is that the board go ahead and conduct the first reading today, set a public hearing for the second reading and adoption on July 25th. And then if adopted, that allows period, the 10-day period, and this would go into effect August 4th. Again, this is just for the temporary license period between essentially August 4th, if this timeline works out, and April 1st. So
Great.
with that, I will go ahead and open it up to any questions.
Okay. I have a couple individuals signed in for public comment, but I also have some commissioners that'd like to speak at this time. So Commissioner Hartung?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Under assumption or direction, Mr. Solero, at item J, proper county review and approval of security provisions and arrangements. Who reviews security provisions? Who's qualified to do that?
Currently, the sheriff's office is reviewing.
It's the sheriff's office.
Correct.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't, a planner in building and safety.
Security professionals.
Okay, all right. All right. And it didn't indicate that, so I wanted to, it would be nice to indicate that it is done by the SO so that people, sort of understand that. And then so when they submit that security plan, that will all be to the SO, and it's really not subject to review by us. Am I correct in that?
So the way this works is the application will come into the business license counter, and we'll route that out to the partners that need to look at this. So fire, sheriff, planning, engineering.
Right.
Everybody gets to take a look at that. So
Okay.
we do that centrally within the business license counter, and once we get those approvals, then we issue the license.
Okay, so this is a temporary permit or a temporary process until we get something more formalized next year. So even though there have been approvals in certain places, they can't just pull up a van in front of that location and sell out of the side, so to speak.
If the state issues them a certificate to do that at that location, we do have 6 specific locations for dispensary.
Right.
But the way this is written is they've got to bring that certificate from the state saying that they are in good standing and they meet all the requirements of the state before we can issue them a license.
So on that, though, we look at the facility itself, and does it have to meet our standards or the state standards or both, and then security requirements?
So our standards mirror the state standards. So there's kind of a double check there.
Okay. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hartung. Vice Chair Burke-Bigler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Solero, could you just, for the record, walk through the cost of licensing, what the charges the county is going to, just so it's on the record? Thank you.
I can do that. So one of the processes that we're still going through is trying to really understand and fully develop the cost of licensure for this process. There are three areas, if I can find my notes. So we've got we can charge on the gross revenue, we can charge an application fee, and we can charge a business license fee. We're really trying to understand what that means to Washoe County, specifically based on what we currently have in our business license code and what we're allowed by state. There's, it wasn't really simple in the statute that said, hey, you can do X. It says you can do X and you can do Y, but you've also got to look at other state statutes. So we're proposing that we come back at a later date to actually set the fees associated with this piece. But we will be following the statutes as set up by the Department of Taxation.
Thank you, Mr. Solero. And for the record, I had spoken with staff earlier, and so our licensing fee is $75, and the facilities that are already licensed as medical marijuana facilities will also have to obtain that $75 license application. They'll have to pay that $75 secondary license for their recreational, since their first license only covers the medical marijuana. So that's where we're at right now until we get through the process on the temporary basis, till we get through the process of doing everything else. So I just wanted that to be on the record. Thank you.
Great. And I had the same discussions with staff. Some of the concerns that I have were obviously the same in regards to the ability to what those fees would look like, what the charges would be going forward. I know based upon the legislation that was just passed in the most recent session, allowed for a little bit more leeway for counties to obtain some of those said monies. I know the city of Reno did a business impact and was able to impart some of those fees prior to their start. We have not done so and will be doing so. But what I do recommend, and obviously I know the 3 firms that would be participating in the Quick Start, that they report obviously monthly to us what those gross sales were and what that looks like. But I would like to make sure that our fees going forward look identical to what those of Reno and Sparks are in regards to their just fee, their licensed business start fee. And then also on our monthly, their annual fee to us, it's either a fee or a combination of a set fee or 3% of gross sales. I would recommend to staff that it be at least 3% of gross sales or a set fee, whichever being higher at that time for a receipt that would bring those monies back to the county. So that's would be my recommendation going forward. And I think this will provide us with some good data for the other 3 entities that will be up and running hopefully by the April 2018 timeline. Will give us some little bit more data to kind of set some of that harder look at what those fees will look like and kind of assess that going forward. So just as long as staff is looking at that monthly and collecting that data so that when we go and try to set those fees, that this board has all of that data in front of them to properly assess going forward. So Commissioner Hartung, I have you signed in.
You do, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Back on the security plan, because everybody knows these guys can't just deposit money in the bank, so they're all holding fairly large quantities of cash. Does the SO get to charge a fee for the review of that security plan?
Yes, they do.
Is that mandated by state law, or is that something that they can establish?
So state law allows the collection of fees to take care of any of the inspections and those sorts of things. So we allow that within our current medical marijuana establishment. This Quick Start piece will also allow for us to cover those costs of staff through the permitting process.
Under that $75?
Over and above the $75.
Okay.
So this is, yes.
$75 goes a long way. Understood. All right. Thank you, Mr. Solero. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Seeing no further questions from any of the commissioners at this time, what I'd like to do before we introduce this is allow for public comment. I have Mr. Garth Elliott signed in.
Commissioners, for the record, Garth Elliott once again. Boy, this has been a long process, but it's been the will of the people, isn't it? We got to keep that in mind. It's been a long process of uninformed hysteria, as Commissioner Jung wants to put it. And boy, we've seen a lot of uninformed hysteria. But please do your part in bringing it to fruition so that again, we bring the will of the people to reality. So thank you for your time and your effort, and let's make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Elliott. Next, I have Mr. Will Adler signed in. Madam Clerk, while Mr. Adler's coming down, can I get the bill number again? You did? Okay, never mind. Thank you.
Hello, Will Adler, representing Sierra Cannabis Coalition. I want to thank you for your time today and also your staff's time for doing a well thought out ordinance write-up. It seems to encompass everything that you guys need to do, and including opening the current dispensaries and cultivations and productions you have in Washoe County, as well as having that timeline window for those who are not open yet, because there is going to be a secondary application period in this early start program. So that in mind, I do feel that to your comments, Chairman Lucy, that Washoe County should move forward with the 3% gross fee. That's the maximum mandated under state law. So some combination of flat fees plus a 3% gross gets you to about the maximum you can be at, which isn't saying you're going for the most money you can. It's actually just streamlining what every other local government in the area is doing. So it keeps you at a even keel and a competitive basis where we will be recording and partnering with the county to make sure we give our 3% where it's due. So I would like again to thank your staff for your time. I know you guys have worked a lot on this issue, and marijuana is not easy. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Adler. All right. Seeing no other further public comment at this time, I will bring it back to the board. Commissioner Jung.
Thank you. I would like to introduce Bill number 1784 and the second reading and possible adoption for the ordinance to be set for July 25th of 2017.
Great. All right, we have our first reading. We are now on to item 14. Mr. Manager, this is our public hearing. We are going to open the public hearing at this time.
Mr. Chair, this is public hearing, item 14. This is for possible action and discussion of the Tahoe Racket Club appeal of the Planning Commission approval of special use permit WSUP 17-004, Lake Tahoe School, to modify special use permit SW02-008, which permitted the operation of a kindergarten through 9th grade private school in a commercial building.
Great. At this time, we have, this is a public hearing. This is an item that we continued from our last business meeting. I do see that we have representation from one of the parties here. I did receive a letter this morning from both parties saying that they have come to an agreement and have been able to settle all their differences. But what at this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Nick Exline, who represents the Lake Tahoe School, to come up and just put on the record some, basically some of the discussion in regards to the settlement, please. Mr. Exline.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Nick Exland. I'm here on behalf of the Lake Tahoe School. As Commissioner Lucy just stated, as a result of the 2-week delay we took a couple weeks ago, we were able to enter in a more robust conversation with the Tahoe Racket Club, located directly behind the school, to address a few of the issues. I believe most of you have seen the settlement agreement, but for those of you who haven't, some of the issues at play were in regard to an access easement, fees associated with that, parking agreements, signage, mailboxes, certain things you started to see within development projects. As a result of negotiations between the Lake Tahoe School and the Tahoe Racket Club, we were able to reach agreements regarding all their concerns. That was the document that Mr. Commissioner Lucy was just referencing. And as a result, they were willing to withdraw their appeal. I'm here to speak to the withdrawal of that appeal, but also there was a few within that the agreement document that was provided to the Commission today. There was several or 3 conditions that were addressed within that letter from the Planning Commission approval that we would like to have addressed. The slide you have in front of you was some discussion regarding those proposed condition changes. However, in light of the agreement that was signed off on by both parties, in which the proposed revisions to the conditions were addressed and agreed upon, I would probably forgo what is stated on the slide and instead utilize the agreement between both parties within that document.
Okay.
And excuse me, Mr. Exline, you said that you'd provided that document to the board earlier today?
It was actually provided a letter just recently.
If we could have a copy for the record, please. Thank you.
Sure. It's just, sure. Oh, we need the back.
Oh, okay.
I'll bring it to you.
Mr. Chair, perhaps we should have that read into the record since it's been referenced now.
Yeah. Yes. Would you like me to read it into the record? That's fine. Let me read it into the record. So this was a letter delivered to me this morning, July 11, dated July 11, 2017, addressed to Washoe County Commission Chairman Bob Lucy at the Washoe County Complex. Read Lake Tahoe School Appeal Matter. Dear Chairman Lucy, please be advised that the undersigned appellants of the special use permit WSUP 17-004 have reached an agreement with the applicant, Lake Tahoe School, such that we hereby withdraw the appeal of the Tahoe Racket Club to grant of the special use application as previously entered by the Planning Commission, the 101 member Owners Association of Residences at the Tahoe Racket Club, of which co-appellant, Peter Safraza is one, are pleased to come before you in affirmative support of the SUP application of our neighbor, the Lake Tahoe School, and its project. The undersigned further consent to the clarifying amendments to the SUP conditions set forth in the attached in support of and said special use permit application. Thank you for your consideration of this request. Thank you also to each member of the Board of County Commissioners. Thank you that so kindly gave their time and assistance in the resolution of this matter. This matter may be removed from your agenda today pursuant to this request of the appellant. Signed sincerely, William A. Baker, Esquire, agent for the appellant Tahoe Racquet Club, and Peter J. Safraza, co-appellant. And the exhibit that was attached to this is the following requests and clarifications need to be made to the SUP conditions consented to by Lake Tahoe School and the Tahoe Racquet Club are condition 1B I, that the condition may be deleted as the lease has been terminated effective July 26, 2017. Condition F, II, convention III, IV, and V, 3, 4, and 5. These conditions shall be clarified to reflect that they are intended to apply to only public uses unrelated to school activities. And condition F, II, or F2, the last sentence shall be stricken. Is that correct, Mr. Exline?
That's correct.
All right. Now that that's been read into the record, is there any, I have some, Commissioner Hartung.
Question. Mr. Exline, thank you. You and I had a brief conversation earlier about one of the conditions in terms of parking that was more restrictive than what is currently allowed. Would you expound on that for me?
Yeah, definitely. The condition in reference to parking was fundamentally this. There was in a desire from staff to address some of TRC's concerns. They had limited the number of non-faculty, non-students during the school day to 25 people. It was our belief that typically parking is dictated by number of spaces instead of just a number. I had spoken with county staff regarding this, and Ms. Krause provided some methodology on how she came to that 25-person, the number. But fundamentally, we believe that currently on a daily basis, more than 25 parents are coming to school every day. As me and the school principal, Ruth Glass, have talked, that's just kind of how schools operate. My wife has always at my kids' school. And so fundamentally what we wanted to do is have that condition, that part stricken, because we wanted to have kind of the attendees, non-faculty, non-student, to be dictated by parking, available parking, opposed to just some number developed through a methodology with staff.
Okay. Ms. Krause, can you talk to us briefly how and why staff would be more restrictive than what's currently allowed? I mean, they already seem to be operating fairly smoothly, and I actually believe that this upgrade will help them to operate even more consistently and easily than what's currently being allowed. So I'm just wondering if that's an undue condition, and if we should potentially remove that, or can they work that out with staff along the way. But my sense is that I would just assume we remove that so that it's not a hindrance in the future for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's already allowed right now. We're letting them do more.
Good afternoon, Eva Kraus, planner. That condition was crafted trying to address the racket clubs and the Deer Creek's residents' concern that if we had this big multi-purpose building, suddenly we're going to have lots and lots of parking there. As I said, as Mr. Exline stated, I did tell him what my methodology was based on, was how many parking spaces were required for the school versus how many parking spaces were not being used, and then trying to balance it out. It was something, and I was trying to craft something that would work for them, but I have no disagreement with their statement that they could make it work better in a different way. I was just trying to address some concerns. So I have no problem if the Racket Club has no problem with the condition and they understand that it's being handled through the school. I think the school's done a very good job of controlling their use in the past. I just didn't want to leave some big open loophole in the future because I didn't know how to work on this.
Okay, so what we're approving today is the proposed condition revisions. Am I correct in that? Okay,
Yes.
I want to make that very clear, that it's not just that we're agreeing that there's no longer an issue between the two parties, which really was never an issue for us. We got moved into it. It's a civil issue, and I'm not saying that an issue didn't exist. I'm just saying that you know, in terms of planning and what our purview is, it was not in our purview to oversee that. And I'm glad that an agreement has been made. However, having said that, I want to make sure that, and if Commissioner Birkbigler is comfortable with this is obviously in her district, but I see no reason personally to support revising the conditions. I don't know whether it has to go back to the Planning Commission again. Does it have to do that, Mr. Luparelli?
Let me, Mr.
Yeah,
Luparelli.
Mr. Chairman, I wanted to talk on that point. Just a procedural map here. Technically, if you dismiss the appeal, then you don't have the ability to add conditions. So rather than dismissing the appeal, what you might want to do is hear the appeal and modify the conditions in line with what the parties have agreed to if the board finds that those conditions are reasonable. Otherwise, dismissing the appeal would leave the parties to have to go back to the Planning Commission to add these things to the special use permit. So I discussed it with Ms. Kraus and with Mr. Exline. I think the letter that you referred to and the conversation about dismissal was just a misuse of the term. I think what they really aim for is for the board to entertain adding these conditions as a modification of the permit, which you're permitted to do when you hear a special use permit appeal.
Yes, and just so to add to that conversation, in the conversation that I had with the appellant, Mr. Peter Safraza, he did offer this morning his support for the affirmation of the Planning Commission's decision, just with the modifications that were submitted today. So as you stated, it was misrepresented in the letter, but they do support the project as going forward. So at this time, I would turn it over to Vice Chair, Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And based on the conversation we've just had, the letter that was read into the record, I move to affirm the Planning Commission's approval of the special use case number, sorry, got to put my glasses on, WSUP 17-00047 Lake Tahoe School to modify the special use permit at SW 02-008 as outlined in the letter and as agreed to by both parties.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Vice Chair Birkbigler, second.
Oh.
Motion by Vice Chair Birkbigler, second by Commissioner Jung. I have no further public comment. All those, I'll call for the vote at this time. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All 5 commissioners have voted. Please affirm your vote. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you for your time. All right. Mr. Manager, we are on to item 15.
Mr. Chair, item 15 is also a public hearing item. This is for possible action to adopt an ordinance approving a third amendment to a development agreement, which is Ladera Ranch. Okay. Hold on one second. Madam Clerk, you ready?
Ready, thank you.
Okay.
All righty, this will be ordinance number 1597, an ordinance approving a third amendment to a development agreement, Ladera Ranch tentative map, case number TM05-011, originally approved in 2009, development agreement DA 09-004, ordinance number 1406, and first amended in 2010, amendment of conditions AC 11-002, ordinance number 1461, and second amended in 2015, development agreement DA 15-001, ordinance number 1551, to extend the deadline for filing the next final map to July 5th, 2019. The subject parcels are contiguous to each other and located to the south of Golden Valley Road, West 7th Avenue, approximately 1 mile west of the intersection of West 7th Avenue and Sun Valley Boulevard, and approximately 1 mile east of the intersection of Golden Valley Road and Spearhead Way. The parcels total approximately 376 acres and have mixed regulatory zones, including high-density rural, HDR, plus or minus 61.33 acres, low-density suburban, LDS, plus or minus 135.3 acres, medium-density suburban, MDS, plus or minus 94.15 acres, and open space OS plus or minus 85.3 acres. The parcels are located within the Sun Valley Area Plan and are situated in portions of Sections 13 and 24, Township 20 North, Range 19 East, MDM, Washoe County, Nevada, APNs 502-70001, 502-502-70006, parcel 502-25005, 502-71101-214, 502-71201-209, 502-72101-13, and 502-72201-46, 502-73101-10, and 502-73201-16. This was previously Bill number 1782.
Looking for an introduction or a read?
This is actually a motion for
Motion, please.
to approve ordinance 1597. Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Jung, second by Vice Chair Burke-Bickler.
Sorry.
I'll call for the vote. I don't have any public comment signed in. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Please affirm your vote. Motion carries unanimously. All right, moving on. We will, that is the end of our public hearings. We'll close public hearings. We are on to items 16. Mr. Manager.
Item 16 is discussion and update pursuant to Commissioners' previous requests and/or topics for future agendas. This is our ongoing once-a-month update on requests that the board has made. We also have information in the report regarding 311 and other items that Mr. Rogers will cover. Mr. Bad.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. For the record, Al Rogers, Office of the County Manager. As indicated by the County Manager, we do have your typical report laid out in fashion that we have our primary requests on the first page. I would note that we do have a couple of new ones. One of note, the North Washoe County Fire Station. We will be bringing that to you 2 meetings from now by the end of the month, an update on the status of that combination fire department. So look forward to that one. And then also the target shooting that was mentioned earlier, I think that is, I believe, coming back next week through the fire board, and we'll continue on that item. So those are the primary requests. As also in our report, we give you the metrics in terms of year-to-date for you to look at those. We continue to have more requests, which is good, and we are completing them, hopefully, to your satisfaction and timeliness. We did have the opportunity to meet with some commissioners during the last week and update this as much as possible. So the next pages, including the individualized items, are up to date as much as possible, given the meetings that we've had recently, but certainly, and as I always do, say that this is a time and place that we bring this report to you. This is constantly dynamic. We're moving on this. So we do, if we've missed anything or something is not completely up to date, we will continue on those to make sure that we do keep them up to date. Also mentioned in this report is the 90-day calendar, and hopefully we have, again, identified those topics that are coming at you in the next 90 days that are reflected either in requests that you've made that are standing items, and we'll continue to grow these through departments in terms of what items are coming forward to you so that you have an idea in those coming months of items. Again, those are all, again, tentative and subject, but we try to be as diligent as we can in terms of identifying those. And then, as mentioned last month, we did add the planning and development highlights. As you can see, next month, or this month, we took in applications, and also 4 of those applications will be going before CABS that was discussed at our last meeting. 3 of those variances will be heard by Incline at the end of this month, and actually the South Truckee Meadows will be hearing an item later this week. The one in Sun Valley is actually a school district, and they'll be holding a community meeting outside of the CAB process. So we'll continue to update you in terms of those planning and development. And then wrapping up with the report, we do have our metrics and update from Washoe 311 in terms of volume and number of service calls. You can see we did break the 2,000 mark this last month in terms of Washoe 311 being contacted. We continue to grow that program. slowly but surely, more and more people are using that service. And you'll see probably within the next 30 days a little more external outreach, if you will, as far as Washoe 311 to our community. Right now, we've done a little bit of that, but you'll see more in terms of people knowing, and as we have, even over the course of the last week with the current fires, using Washoe 311 as that simple one-step, who do I call for information. So we continue and look forward to having that as a vital resource to Washoe County. So with that, I'm happy to answer any and all questions.
Great. All right. Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Commissioner Hartung.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Another line on this dashboard might be helpful, and that is an estimated time to completion, Mr. Rogers, because I mean we have status, active, next steps, but it would be nice when we give some direction to say, well, we think that this is going to take 3 months or 6 months or a year or never. Whatever it happens to be. But I think that that would be very useful because, I mean, I'm still waiting, as I know you are, Mr. Chairman, and I believe Commissioner Burke-Bigler feels the same, and I think, I'm not going to speak for Commissioner Herman, but I think she feels the same, and that is waste management. And the only reason I think Commissioner Jung is not as concerned with it is because he has mostly city stuff, and it comes under a completely different franchise agreement, which a big portion of Sparks also is under the Sparks franchise agreement for me personally. But that's something we need to get resolved. I mean, we really do need to move on that. And then I don't see and maybe it's not something that needs to be on this, but a timeline to hear about effluent and discharge and what our actual responsibilities are in terms of monitoring federal bodies of water. Because that's what White's, Swan, and which is the other one? Silver Lake, thank you. Memory escaped me. Those are federal bodies of water, to my knowledge. As I think also, I'm not sure, but I think Washoe is also a federal body of water. It may be under BLM's jurisdiction. I'm not sure, but it would be nice to know all of those lakes. I know we don't discharge into all of them, but it's all sort of one issue, really.
Okay.
So it would be nice to hear back, and that's all I have, Mr. Chairman, at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hartung. Madam Vice Chair, Burke-Bigler.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to point out also, I believe all the commissioners received a copy of a letter from the sheriff and the sheriff's response to the bear call issue in Incline Village. And so I think that issue, based on a conversation I had with Ms. Tone, I think that issue is also now completed. And so, which just goes to show you how quickly these things change. This document was already printed by the time we completed that, and so we did get a response from the sheriff. We do know how they're handling it, and so on a going forward basis, I think that's going to be good. I did, by the way, just for the record, respond back. I put this on the record that I agreed totally with the sheriff's position. I thought his response to the citizens in Incline Village was right on, and so I think I just want to say for the record that the sheriff did a very good job in responding to them on that issue. So that's an issue that can come off also. Thank you.
All right. Anything else from any other Commissioner Hartung? Yes? No? Yes?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, yes, I do.
Commissioner
And maybe what we need to do, I recognize that we had a fellow here earlier talking about the sign that's been illegally placed. And maybe we need to have staff come in and just have a brief conversation on this. I don't think technically it's a sign.
Kind of really isn't.
It's not. Technically, it's not a sign, and so therefore it doesn't violate our sign ordinance. That's my point with this. I'm not saying that it doesn't need to come down, but maybe we need to have some discussion about that and technically what it is and what the real issue is. But I'm not sure whether it's in our purview to just demand that those stanchions be taken down. They may be placed illegally, which is a building and safety issue, but I don't think it is a violation of the sign ordinance because it's not a sign. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, I think that's a valid point. Thank you, Commissioner Hartung, for bringing that to my mind. I think the issue is not that it's a sign, but more that it's a danger. We could see in the video that it moves. I actually was over there standing and watching it move in the wind, and the wind was not blowing that hard. And I think the concern is, what if it does fall, and if it falls on someone? It truly is a very unstable situation, and that's the reason that I think we need to look into it further. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Great. Thank you. All right. Seeing nothing further at this time from the commissioners, Commissioner Rogers, do you think you got all your direction?
I have it. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And again, I'd like to thank the commission. We will continue. I think the critical piece to this update every month, and appreciate the feedback all the time, is that communication. Appreciate your time for our staff, and I would mention that again. I stand up here and give you the report, but there are a lot of people working on this that make this happen. And again, thanks to them and you for continually updating and keeping these issues moving forward. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Rogers. And I just want to add really quick, that prompted me. I'd like to thank Ms. Sarah Tone and Mrs. Dana Searcy, yourself, all the staff at Washoe 311 that collect this data and compile it. It's very useful for us. It's tremendously useful for us to know what's going on within, not only within our districts, what those issues are, and many issues that all these commissioners sit up here and deal with on a daily basis. We sometimes forget some of the asks that we have and things that we're working on, and at least I do. Maybe not everybody else, but I definitely do. But it's tremendously helpful. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I'm beautiful as a redhead. But anyways, thank you for your staff and all your, I really appreciate it. And I know that all the commissioners do as well. So thank you to you and your staff. All right. Seeing nothing further, we will take it to item 17. Mr. Manager.
Item 17 is public comment. Comment heard under this item is limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to both matters both on and off the commission agenda. The commission will also hear public comment during individual action items with comment limited to 3 minutes per person. Excuse me. Comments are to be made to the commission as a whole.
Thank you. All right. First, I have Mrs. Carol Burns. I say Mrs., but Miss Carol Burns. I apologize. Good morning, Ms. Burns.
My name is Carol Burns, and I'm a resident of Washoe County. I wanted to speak today about the cancellations of all the CAB meetings that we have had in this last quarter. East Truckee Meadows, June 7th was canceled. Incline Village, April 24th was canceled. North Valley's June 12th was canceled. South Truckee Meadows, the April meeting was canceled. They're to meet on the 13th of this month. Sun Valley meeting was canceled. West Truckee Meadows was canceled on June 12th. They had a special one on the 29th of June. However, on the Sun Valley one, we were given no notice. It was a few days before. The agenda was already online for us, and we were given no reason why our meeting was canceled. We have things that we wish to discuss, and I don't know if we have a department that possibly can't handle these matters, that maybe you should develop another department to take care of the cabs. The South Truckee Meadows, let's see, they're going to meet on the 13th. I don't know if you saw the opinion on in the Sunday newspaper on the 25th by a gentleman about South Washoe residents feel left out of the planning. They're developing housing developments there once again on a floodplain. I guess everybody figures, well, we'll be long dead before there will be a flood, but we've already seen one in Lemon Valley that was built on a floodplain. I discussed it with a Mr. Strobel, who was passed in the Department of planning department, and he said they knew long ago that that was also a floodplain. But I think that, if we can't plan on these meetings, that maybe we need another department developed that would. We wanted to talk about the Ladero Ranch again in our area. That's going to be developed. There's been no planning for the monstrous amount of homes that are going in there, and the traffic, which is at 7th, which is a single lane road, and then goes into the double lane on Sun Valley Boulevard. I have spoken many times about the weed problem. I just want to say, Ask Joe was on the other night for NDOT, and NDOT says, well, now we can't use our machines because we will cause a spark. Well, we've been talking to you about this long before there would be sparks. Thank you.
Now we have Ms. Tammy Holtstill.
Tammy Holt, still for the record. Morning again, or afternoon, actually. Busy day. I wanted to let you know that on Facebook, the residents of Antelope Valley were given some information, not through Washoe County from what we have actually gathered, but from another department within the state. And we are working on that misinformation. However, the information is in contrast to what we have talked about with Washoe County representatives and you guys. And my frustration comes into the fact that I get direct information from Washoe County, and then I'm getting this other information that's coming in, and to be direct, it has to do with Deodore. Dwayne Smith stated that Deodore was either going to get chip seal or road grinds put on it before the air races. Out on Facebook, it is showing that nothing is going to be done with that road until March, which is way after this air races in September. So, and then there's the other issue of Washoe County has made it clear a long time, or back in March, that there would be no buyouts. You weren't even entertaining buyouts. However, we know that there's been a meeting since, and you guys are looking into it, which is fantastic. And there might be some residents out there that are interested in that. However, this person is saying that it is almost finalized with FEMA, and there will be buyouts. So, as me being a representative of the community, I've had to deal with these fires that I'm not getting response back quick enough to take care of it and put it in the right perspective for everybody. Again, communication is important. When we put out an email asking for assistance, there's a reason I'm putting an email out asking for assistance. So I look forward to getting responses regarding when we do get this kind of situation, so we can get the right information out there and we don't have all the rumors. And so Washoe County doesn't look bad, I don't look bad, and we can get things taken care of. Okay? Thank you.
We will go to our final Commissioners and County Managers announcement. Item 18, Mr. Manager. Is there any, since this is our final county managers and county commissioners and county managers. Okay. Commissioner Herman.
The situation up in Gerlach. There's been a lot of different things said and done and everything up there, and I'm just thinking that we need to fix it. The misinformation, or just, come up with all the true facts. I was told there was an audit, and then I was told there wasn't an audit. And I've been up there quite a bit, and seemed like everything was going quite well. And then all of a sudden, we have this problem where somebody was removed quite unexpectedly. And I don't understand, and the people of Gerlach don't understand why this has happened. So if there is an audit, I'd like to take a look at it so I know, so I can explain to people. And if there isn't, maybe we ought to have one. And I'd be willing to help pay for an independent audit on the situation so that we all know exactly what happened, why, and we'll be understanding each other, because right now there's lots of questions. Okay, on the lighter side, I just wanted to thank whoever it was in the road department that fixed the culverts on 7th Street. And I drive around a lot out there, and I still don't see any work on the ditches or culverts in Lemon Valley. Just one more thing. Regarding, and this is regarding the flooding in Lemon Valley. I just wanted to offer my assistance if it's necessary. I'm sure that Chairman Lucy just overlooked the fact that Ms. Montoya needed a letter written to her to help get this process rolling so we can get the funding for the homes, 10 homes in Lemon Valley. So if I can help you with that, I'd be happy to. So let's go move forward. Let's get stuff done. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Anything further? All right, seeing nothing further from any of the commissioners and nothing from the manager, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.